Hello everyone, welcome to this little interview series that I'm doing. It's not even so little, it's an epic interview series, and today I'm going to be chatting with Melanie White. Here she is. Maybe just to start off, I'll get Mel, can you just sort of introduce yourself in case anybody doesn't know you?
Okay, well, I'm a business and habit strategist, and I love helping coaches particularly, but people in wellness businesses to gain the clarity and skills and confidence they need to run a really kick-ass business, basically to turn their passion into their profit.
Love it. And I love working with you. I've been working with you for a few years as a coach, and it's been great. And so that's why I wanted to interview you, because coaching's completely changed my life. And if I wasn't doing marketing, I would 100% run off and get coach qualified and do that, but I just can't be bothered. So I'm glad that someone's doing it. And I feel really grateful that I get to hang out with you and be coached. And I think in Australia, coaching has such a funny, let's talk about that for a minute. Coaching's just so misunderstood in Australia, I think. And I was a classic candidate about like what coaching is or isn't, or just not even really, just getting confused by the word. So can you just unpack quickly maybe a little bit what coaching is, and so people can understand?
Sure, but I actually want to start by asking you what you used to think coaching was, because that'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, I thought coaching was either like a sport thing, and I'm not sporty. So I thought, no, that's not me. And then I also thought coaching was just this strange American phenomenon that was for American people. And I couldn't understand why I just didn't feel like I qualified, because I was seeing like Tony Robbins and so much rah-rah. And I just thought, what's that got to do with I just didn't understand how that applied to my life at all.
Okay, well, if you were to look at official definitions of health and wellness coaching particularly, which is what I'm qualified in, it's this lengthy jargon-filled paragraph that nobody understands. So I totally get it that, people don't get what it is. And it's probably fairly new to Australia, but the simplest way I could describe it really is to say, when sometimes you get all this stuff whizzing around in your head and you're ruminating on it and you're going, God, what do I do about this stuff? And you're just stuck on it.
Yes, I do.
Coaching is a process where, we all get that, right? And coaching is a process of someone objectively asking you questions that draw the answers out of you. So there's no opinion, there's no suggestion, there's no telling. The job of a coach is to be entirely neutral and objective and non-judgmental, and just to say, what do you want? What's going on? And to help you figure that out on your own and come up with your own solutions, so that then you take responsibility for whatever you're going to do and you get unstuck. And I think the benefit of coaching is it's easy to say, well, I can problem solve myself, but often you either need to speak it out aloud or write it down to see what it is. And then you can still have blind spots. You can still not see sides of yourself or not hear your own language. So working with someone else can help you to go, I get it.
Yeah. And hearing all of that reminds me of two things. Like the other day, I was talking to my husband about the kitchen, and then afterwards I'd said something about feeling cold, and he was like, do you want something? Like, do you want this or do you want that? He wasn't aggro, so sorry, that was the wrong tone, but he was like, do you want a hot water bottle? Do you want something? I was like, no, I just want to be heard. Like, I don't actually want you to fix me. And he said, is that what you wanted for the kitchen? All this time you just wanted to be heard about your frustration about the kitchen. I was like, yeah. And I think there's so often that people in our lives can't just hear us, that they need, like, they're really helpful and they love us and they want to make it all better. So being heard is just so valuable. And just thinking about how much my business has grown in a way that really works for me since I've had coaching. And I mean, obviously it hasn't been like straight away, but I would say in the past 2 years, I feel so much more in control of myself and my life. And I don't know. I don't know if I can say, oh, definitely business is better because of coaching, but it looks like that to me. Like, it definitely looks like I've got my shit way more together, and love it. And I mean, in that vein, we were going to talk about knowing thyself. Can you explain it a bit better? You said it so well before, what you wanted to have a chat with us today about.
Yeah, I just think that a lot of people don't really understand what's involved in running a business. And
Mm,
especially if you haven't been involved in business before, you kind of think it's just about showing up and selling stuff to people. But actually, what happens is, unless you know yourself really well, you're not going to be able to successfully run a business, I think, because
mm,
you're only going to attract a certain type of person, and people are going to see you in a certain way, in a certain light. And you
mm,
need to understand those things in order to get your marketing right and your pitch right and the type of service you offer.
mm.
So I think a lot of people don't understand themselves, and that's the first part of any coaching journey, is to say, well, what's going on for you right now? Who are you? What are your strengths? What are you good at?
Yeah. And I
And
mean, I
unless you
talk
know
to
those
people.
things, you get bogged down, right, in stuff that.
Yeah. And so many people I've talked to, they are freaking out in business. And I'm like, well, it's like a spiritual journey in a way. And so is knowing thyself, like in meditation and spirituality. Everyone's always talking about knowing yourself. Brendan Burchard, who's a big American coach guy, he's really into knowing yourself. And I think it is such a key piece, and not just in business, but in life. But in business, particularly, like if you're operating a little bit unconsciously, or
Mm,
if you're just letting the unknown self run the show, it's going to get messy as hell.
absolutely. And I just think that if, when you know who you are and what your strengths are, you can stop beating yourself up for not being perfect. Because a lot of people come into business and they think they should be able to do everything in their business. And
Mm.
if you're not good at something, like I'm not good at design, right? My sister is an artist and I'm embarrassingly bad at art,
Yeah.
which is fine. But I could thrash myself and spend hours on Canva trying to make something look good and be
Mm.
angry at myself for not being able to do it.
Yeah.
And all of those hours I spent in flagellation, I could have actually been servicing a client and earning money for that time. And I
Yeah.
could have paid you, who has that skill,
Mm.
and a couple of $100 or whatever to do something. And I would have this immense sense of relief.
Mm. Yes.
So I have to know that I suck at art, or my skills aren't good enough to produce something of quality that I could include in my branding or marketing. And then
Mm.
knowing that gives me a sense of freedom that, oh,
Mm.
I don't have to be good at that. You're good at that. You
Mm.
can do that for me. I can pay you. I can
Mm.
earn money with that time
Mm.
and not beat myself up.
Even
What a
if it's a
relief.
zero gain, even if, if you
Yeah.
paid and then you earn those hours and you're not actually making a profit on that turnaround. I'm a big fan. We just got a cleaner for that exact reason, because I would rather just work a couple of hours or even 1 hour and just pay them,
Mm.
for doing that stuff so that we can enjoy the weekend. So I love that stuff. So is this the thing that you've been seeing heaps this last few weeks?
Yeah, and I think definitely yes. And the other part of it is that I'm a big advocate of doing business your way.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people, and you probably see this too, are comparing themselves to this person or that person, and
Mm.
they're doing this, so I should do that, or I need to do that thing because that's what everyone does.
Mm.
But if that's not your strength or your skill set, you're going to be putting up barriers. So I'm seeing both of those things, people trying to do it all and not succeeding, and
Mm-hmm.
then feeling emotionally imbalanced, or thinking that because somebody else does a certain thing that that's what they need to do, and then it
Mm.
doesn't work because it's
Yeah.
not what they're good at or what they like. So
Yeah.
they're always pushing it uphill. I
Yeah,
didn't swear.
yeah. No, I'm fine with swearing anyway. And I think it's like so inspiring to see other business people and see their success and see that they're saying exactly what you're saying. I love that. Like with certain people who are doing really well, like Brooke Castillo, I'm like, she's saying everything I've been saying for the last 10 years. And so it's
Yeah.
easy to think, oh, so now I need to be a coach and I need to have that model and I need to, that business model and do everything she's doing. But I guess what I've learned through coaching is to be more experimental and to be more curious and not be, I know just from life experience, not trying to shove my idea of life onto life, but actually maybe letting life tease out a little and being a bit more playful and interested in like, what's the opportunity here and what is here, rather than this is here. More like, oh, what is here?
As you're speaking, it makes me think how easy it is for us to lose ourselves in what's going on around us, and we forget who we are as people.
Mm,
Like if
mm,
we're so busy caught up in other people's ideas or stuff, and we're just buying into all of that stuff, it's like you're giving yourself away or losing your sense of who you are and your personality, and you're just
mm.
becoming a carbon copy, and then it makes it really hard to stand out.
Indeed. So have you got some tips for how we can know ourselves? Have you got some like, because now we've identified that sucks. We should move out of that, yeah.
I could rant all day, but yes, let's move to
Well, we
solutions.
could rant more.
No. I think, anyway, no, I'm not going to rant anymore. Let's go to
Oh.
solutions. I could totally rant, but no.
I'm sure that this would be resonating for people. Like, I know it's definitely been work that I've been doing, and I know so many of my clients that is the issue for them, is that, yeah, they're seeing things going on around them, they're seeing other people doing things, or they just don't understand the scope of business. Like, it's so big being in business, and it's not even just that you did some training and now you're going to deliver that service. Like, business is actually quite separate to delivering a service, because when you get trained, you could do your training and then go and work for someone else. But if you decide to be a business person, that is very different. It's like a totally fringe experience. And I think lots of people who are employees, who have been employees for a long time, really don't understand what it takes to be in business. And now I've been in business so long, I don't know what it takes to be an employee anymore. Like, I seriously doubt my ability to go and be an employee, because I'm just too wild. Like, I'm too free now. I'm too able to honor myself. So I'm sure it's making sense. We could rant, but let's see. Let's see what happens.
I like the way you say that, and you honor yourself, and that means that you know yourself and you know what you like and don't like and how you want to operate, and you have the freedom and the independence to be yourself in your business and run it that way, and there's no emotional baggage around that, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty delicious. I'm pretty happy.
So my number one tip, and the thing that I always do first in any kind of I run a business coaching program, and the first thing I do there or with a private client is to get them to do a heap of questionnaires. And I really like things like the DISC test or Myers-Briggs, the tendencies quiz by Gretchen Rubin,
Yep, I
and the
love
VIA
doing those.
strengths.
Yeah, they were so fun. We'll have to put all the links to those. They're so fun.
And they're all free. And, not just doing one, but doing a whole heap and looking at yourself from different angles, you get a really complete picture of your strengths and who you are as a person. And then the cherry on top for me is to go to 3 of your closest friends and say, how do you feel when you're around me? Or what do you think I'm good at? And ask them to come up with 3 words that describe you as a person.
I want to do that.
That's kind of scary but fun and a little bit mind-blowing, and people go, oh my God, people think I'm this, or people see me as that.
Yeah.
So you get your own perception from the quizzes and a bit of a profile from a kind of an objective source, but then that gets validated by your friends' feedback. So I find that to be a really useful exercise in understanding who you are. That's the first tip I have.
Nice.
How does that resonate for you?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I've done a number of those when I was like through coaching with you in the beginning, and I ended up buying the Gretchen Rubin 4 Tendencies book. And I feel like sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm fucking all of them. Like, I'm all of them. I'm this one, I'm that one. I don't know, I'm a rebel. I'm being so compliant. I just don't know if I'm one or the other. But I think, like all of those diagnostic tools, it is so helpful just to have a little bit of a frame for things and acknowledge, like, oh, inside this container, I've got this little bit of space where I move. And I also question, like, do I want to keep this container? Like, is this helpful to me? Do I like that other container better? And what can I get from that? And what can I jettison from this? So yeah, I love the diagnostics. They're fun.
I think the application of that is that once you know who you are, you can write an attractive character avatar, and that becomes your About Me page on your website, for example.
True.
You've got a really good persona profile of yourself that you can put out into the world and say, this is authentically my personality and who I am, which will then attract the right kind of people to you, rather than this kind of contrived about me story, which is more about the service you do. I think it's when it's about you as the person and what you like and don't like and your values. That's ultimately why people buy, right? Is your why. So getting that clarity on who you are through that process is really, really valuable, I reckon.
Yeah, and I think if you've not done any of that stuff before, it would be really eye-opening. It would probably start you on a whole personal growth journey. I guess I feel like I'd done a lot of work beforehand, so when I came to them, it was good. And I think, yeah, if you're at the very beginning, it would be great, you know. Yeah, I love them. I feel like on a different day, I could be a different result sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Number 2.
Okay, so my tip number 2 is to look at the people closest to you and see who you naturally attract. And what kind of person is that?
You mean just in even your friend circles?
Because they're the people that are going to buy from you in your business world.
Yeah. Hearing that makes
So
me
if
think, oh my God, at one point all my friends were just like rescue cases, and I had to shift out of that because I was trying to fix and rescue everyone all the time.
That's tip number 3. We'll get to that. Truly. So what that is about is that you're going to attract a certain kind of person, and I like to say that your ideal client is 80% like you.
I know.
So if you want to attract somebody, by knowing who you are in the first place, you're going to know roughly who you're going to attract and what their problems are.
Yeah.
But also by just looking at your immediate friend circle and saying, who really lights me up? Who do I have great chemistry with? Who do I look forward to seeing? I think that's so important in a service-based business, because a lot of people go, well, I can service everyone. But the reality is, when you're working with a person in a service-based business and they're not your kind of person, it means for not as good a result for them, and possibly an energy drain for you. So looking at your immediate circle of friends, you can say, I like that person because they're quirky, and I like that person because they're funny, and I like that person because we are really open and honest. And you start to see all of the traits of the people that you love the most. And that can help you to pull together a really great personality profile of your ideal client, and also to get clarity on maybe some of their challenges and their aspirations.
Yeah, I found so many of my clients have great values alignment with me. It's just so natural, and there's so much love in the room. And I have had definitely a few clients that it just wasn't good. And I think a few not good aligned clients is a really good solution to broad niching. Like, it just gets it out of your system pretty quick of like, oh yeah, even if you don't know who you do want to work with, if you have a list of who you don't want to work with, that can be really helpful. Like, I don't want to work with people who don't want to implement. I don't want to just have sessions with people who don't actually want to do anything, you know? Like, I need people who are really keen to move the needle and take action. It's not just about sitting around and listening to me talk about fancy stuff. So yeah, I think it is really helpful to find your people.
How did that change your business, by the way, when you kind of had that realization that, oh, there are some people that I don't want to work with?
Yeah, I changed what I was writing in my offers, and I was just more attentive to who I did really love. Like, I think I just had a moment where I was like, oh, that person is my favorite, and I just love their like dynamism and their mind and their, you know, excellence. And I just used that client's exact experience and put that in my copy. And then I just attracted more of those most excellent people. And referral networks has also really helped me a lot, because then people who there's just so much happiness and synergy, they're happy to tell everybody about me, and they tend to know more excellent people. So on it goes.
It's that theory of you are the mean of the 5 people closest to you.
Yeah.
If you've got a good client, they're going to have more people like them who can be your clients.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's been really positive. Well, we could go to 3. Are we ready for 3?
Ready for 3. Tip number 3 is that you
Ooh,
must do work on
ASMR.
yourself. ASMR, what?
You know that weird thing where people make noises and like they go like eating? You can listen to people just making eating noises, or you can listen to people rubbing oil on their hands. Slight segue, guys, because I was just pouring my water. I thought we could do ASMR for like.
Is that some kind of sensory kinky thing?
Yes. I think it's kinky, but I don't know if it is kinky. I just think it's like, don't you all have something better to do than just sit around and listen to someone rubbing hands, rubbing hand cream into their hands?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit.
I know.
Not my cup of tea.
No.
Let's just say that.
Oh my God. Can you tell me number 3 again? I got distracted.
Number 3 fits perfectly with what you just said, which is you really got to work on yourself.
Yeah.
If you've got these weird fetishes. No, seriously. If you look around at all of the clients that you're attracting are penny pinchers and saying, I don't have any money and I'm this and I don't know if I want to buy that, I'm not ready. It's a projection of who you are, and it means you need to do some good old work, preferably to work with a coach. And that's why for me, I say I'm a business and habit strategist, because business coaching and personal coaching work together. Like you can't
100%.
just do one, because business has a personality, right? And your personal stuff affects the way you show up and do business and what you put out and who you attract. So a lot of people starting in business lack confidence in themselves and their skills, and they have money blocks, and then they tend to attract clients who are the same, right? So who you're attracting is a really good indicator, as in new clients, not your existing friends necessarily, but is a really good indicator of the work that you need to do. And often I think it's just about getting some experience and getting some feedback. And what I love about feedback and testimonials, it can be a bit scary to ask for it, but it builds your confidence right away.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm always just aghast and like cry every time someone writes me a testimonial. I'm like, oh, I just wanted you to say I did it good. Like that was completely over the top. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so valuable, because the quicker you build confidence, and even if you don't have confidence in yourself, you can still have confidence in your craft, in your method, in your qualification. You know that it's a real thing that has value and is recognized and respected. And sometimes you can piggyback off that to build your confidence before you have a lot of runs on the board. But I think just building your confidence is important, and to remember that a lot of the time when our clients come to us, they need help, but they don't have confidence in themselves because they failed a lot of times in the past. And that's not, them not buying isn't necessarily a reflection of what they think of you. It's more about what they think of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And something else you said just reminded me as well. Like in my early days, I remember just being really bogged down in having to work hard. I was like this whole kind of energy, like having to work hard, having to really hustle, everything being so hard and busy and chaotic. And just the moment when I really decided that actually this and this sort of more elevated and expanded feeling was really what I needed. And that so anytime I start coming down into this mode, I know that, that in that moment I have a choice, and that I really need to feel a lot more like this, a lot more up and out. Yeah. And definitely once I could recognize that physicality and also pick it in other people and how, if I'm with them, are they, thising me? Are they sucking down? And can I be an influencer in that moment and acknowledge like, hey, look, we could lift up. If I can't be the catalyst for that with them, then I know it's not going to work. If we're just drumming each other down too much and I'm getting too caught in. But a lot of the time, you can be the person of influence for someone else, and you can hold something up. They've been attracted to you for a reason because of your story or whatever it is about you that's attracted them. then I guess it's your responsibility. Like, you're able to respond in that moment and go, oh no, we are like pursuing this excellence. Like, we're not going to just be perpetuating more of the same of this doldrum.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. The fact that you can, people can bring their stuff, whatever that is, and you can work with them to help them to rise up above their own lack of confidence or fear or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think so often like someone will want to work with you and it's almost like a little seed inside them and they don't really intellectually understand why they're attracted, like they can't necessarily explain it, but I think there's this little seed in them that knows you and your energy, and it's a bit like chemistry. It's like your nitrogen and their oxygen, and together you're going to make this new compound, and there's a part of them that knows that that transformation needs to happen. And so they're just drawn to you for whatever reason, and then that will happen, and you'll either keep going together or it'll, it just keeps changing anyway. I love those tips. I love those. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up? I want to try and keep it not too long because, we've all got lots to do. And I think they're great tips. I would recommend, if you are listening, to grab a journal now and just, and maybe if you have been listening with a journal, it's a good moment to just jot any thoughts down that are up for you that you're inspired about, and you could pause now and have a go at that. But have you got any parting tips for us?
Only just one, and that is face it, don't be afraid, like really tackle this stuff. It's so valuable and it can feel a little squishy when you first do this kind of stuff, but to do quizzes and to ask people what they think of you and to look at your circle of friends and to work on yourself takes courage, and it's worth it. Totally 100%. Just jump in.
100%. I've been watching my daughter just struggle with bumping into discomfort and then kind of recoiling and dodging it, and life just keeps putting it at you. Like, you dodge it, it's going to come from over here. Like, there comes a moment, I think, where it is helpful to just stand still and just cop one. And then I find most of the time it doesn't even hurt as much as I thought it was going to. It's just like, oh, what was I even worried about? You can just move on and process that. Well, I would love you, before you go, can just let us know where people could book with you or find you. What's your, I know I could tell you, but you tell me what your top pick is, and if you miss any, I'm going to mention others.
Well, I reckon maybe people want to listen to my Habitology podcast.
Nice.
Which is under H in iTunes in the business podcast section, the Rabbit Warren of iTunes. And the other option is I've got this cute little Facebook group called the Coaching Success Accelerator. And if you want to get to know me, you can listen to me drone on the podcast, or you can interact with me in the group. I reckon that's the best option.
Oh, that's great. I reckon there's nothing to add there. And I don't find you droning on at all. I listened to you the other morning, like, to power up. I had one going in my power up moment and it was really good. And I just find anytime I'm driving, I love having a podcast on in the background. And there's like the website and everything, but that's all the links for all of that are in the podcast and in the group anyway. And the group is so fun. It's just so nice to connect with everyone in there, and heaps of good coaches in there growing their business. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone got something out of this. I look forward to hearing comments or feedback or anything, and me and Mel will jump in and comment back. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.